What if everything we've been told about depression and anxiety is wrong? What if the real causes aren't biological imbalances in the brain, but the way we live our lives? In Lost Connections by Johann Hari, the premise is simple but powerful. Depression and anxiety aren't just illnesses to be fixed with medication. They're signals. Signals that something in our lives is out of balance and needs to change. Instead of solely focusing on treating the symptoms, Hari invites us to explore the deeper causes. Things like disconnection from meaningful work, strained relationships, a lack of purpose, and even the disconnection from nature. By understanding these signals, we can address the root causes and, ultimately, heal in a more lasting and meaningful way. We've been told for years that depression is a chemical imbalance in the brain. That's what the science tells us, right? But what if that's only a small part of the story? What if the real reasons we feel lost, overwhelmed, or anxious are tied to how we live, what we value, and the connections we've lost along the way? In Lost Connections, Hari challenges everything we thought we knew about mental health. He shows us that depression and anxiety aren't just biological conditions. They're clues telling us something needs to change in our lives. In this video, we'll dive deep into this fresh perspective on mental health and explore how you can take real, actionable steps to overcome depression and anxiety. By reconnecting with what truly matters, work, relationships, nature, and a sense of purpose, we can rebuild a foundation for happiness and well-being. So, if you're ready to rethink everything you've been told about mental health and discover how to make lasting changes, keep watching. The journey to healing starts here. Chapter 1. A new perspective on depression. Imagine this. You wake up one day feeling drained, overwhelmed, and like you're stuck in a fog. It feels like there's no escape from the constant weight on your chest. You've heard the term depression thrown around a lot. Maybe even been told it's just a chemical imbalance in your brain. But what if everything we've been told about depression and anxiety is wrong? What if these emotions aren't just random, unexplainable feelings, but signals telling us that something important in our lives is out of balance? What if the root causes of mental health struggles aren't biological, but deeper, more profound disconnections in our lives? In Lost Connections, Johann Hari challenges the traditional view of depression and anxiety, arguing that these mental health issues often aren't just the result of chemical imbalances in the brain. Instead, he proposes that they're signals, indications that something important is missing in our lives. This chapter sets the stage for a radical new way of thinking about mental health, one that focuses on addressing the causes of depression, not just masking the symptoms. For years, we've been told that depression and anxiety are primarily the result of chemical imbalances in the brain. It's a simple, widely accepted explanation. But what if we've been misled? What if the real cause lies in the way we live our lives, in the deep disconnections we experience from meaningful work, relationships, and a sense of purpose? Hari challenges the conventional wisdom, suggesting that depression and anxiety are not merely medical conditions that require pills. Instead, they are signals, our mind's way of telling us that something in our life needs to change. This shift in perspective is crucial. When we see depression as a signal rather than a disease, we can begin to address the root causes, not just the symptoms. And that's where healing begins. 1. The chemical imbalance myth. The idea that depression is purely a result of chemical imbalances in the brain oversimplifies the complexity of mental health. It gives the impression that depression is an isolated problem, one that can only be solved by medication. However, Hari argues that this view fails to account for the bigger picture, the factors in our lives that contribute to these feelings of despair and disconnection. 2. The root causes of depression. Depression doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's often caused by factors like feeling disconnected from meaningful work, feeling isolated from others, or lacking a sense of purpose in life. When we begin to understand these deeper causes, we can start taking steps to reconnect with what really matters. 3. The role of disconnection. According to Hari, our modern society has caused widespread disconnection in several areas: work, relationships, nature, and even our sense of self. This disconnection is a major contributor to the rise in depression and anxiety, which often go unaddressed because we're looking in the wrong places for solutions. Let's take the story of Sarah, a woman in her early 30s, As an example, Sarah had always been a high achiever. She had a steady job, a comfortable apartment, and a wide circle of friends. But despite all of this, she started feeling increasingly disconnected. She would wake up every morning with a sense of dread, unable to shake off a deep sense of emptiness. She went to a doctor who prescribed her antidepressants, and for a while, they helped numb the pain. But even with the medication, she still didn't feel right. It wasn't until Sarah read about Johann Hari's perspective on depression that something clicked. She realized that her depression wasn't just about her brain chemistry. It was about the deep disconnection she felt from the work she was doing, from her relationships, and from her sense of purpose in life. Sarah was stuck in a routine that didn't bring her joy or fulfillment. She was simply going through the motions. Her work felt meaningless, her friendships had become superficial, and she had lost sight of her passions. Sarah's journey towards healing started when she acknowledged that her depression wasn't just a medical condition to be treated with pills. It was a wake-up call, a signal that her life needed to change. She quit her job and pursued a new career aligned with her values, made an effort to spend more quality time with loved ones, and found ways to connect with her deeper sense of purpose. Slowly, Sarah started feeling like herself again, not because of the pills she was taking, but because she was addressing the root causes of her depression. What we can learn from Sarah's story is this: depression and anxiety aren't always about something wrong with our brains. They're a reflection of something deeper in our lives. These feelings are signals that we need to reconnect with what truly matters. When we start seeing depression as a guide, not a curse, we can begin to take meaningful steps toward healing. By shifting our perspective, we can take responsibility for the disconnections in our lives and work to heal them. Whether it's finding more meaningful work, rebuilding relationships, or rediscovering a sense of purpose, these are the steps that lead to true recovery. So, as you listen to this chapter, ask yourself, what is depression trying to tell me? Instead of feeling overwhelmed by these feelings, see them as an invitation to dig deeper into your life and identify what might be missing. Depression is not something to be feared. It's an opportunity to make changes that could transform your life for the better. Remember, depression and anxiety aren't just problems with your brain. They're signals that can guide you back to what matters most. Stay tuned as we dive deeper into how we can begin to heal these lost connections and take back control of our mental health. Chapter 2: Meaningful Work, the Secret to Happiness. Have you ever found yourself waking up to the sound of your alarm, dreading the day ahead? The grind, the endless tasks, the meetings that feel like a blur. Work can sometimes feel like a never-ending cycle. But what if your job could do more than just pay the bills? What if your work could actually bring you happiness, fulfillment, and a sense of purpose? In this chapter of Lost Connections, Johann Hari delves deep into the connection between work and mental health. And no, we're not talking about the paycheck. It's something far more significant. Work that aligns with your values, passions, and sense of purpose isn't just a luxury. It's a key component to living a mentally healthy life. So, let's explore why meaningful work isn't just a nice-to-have, but an essential ingredient for true happiness. In our society, we've been taught to see work as a means to an end. The paycheck, the promotions, the status, these are often the primary motivations. But this traditional view fails to recognize the deeper, more profound impact that work can have on our well-being. Hari argues that when work is purely about earning money or status, it can lead to a deep sense of emptiness and disconnection. Meaningful work, on the other hand, is work that goes beyond the surface. It's about aligning what you do with what you value. When we find purpose in our work, it not only enriches our lives but can significantly improve our mental health. This chapter explores the idea that our work should be more than just a way to make a living. It should be a way to feel alive, connected, and fulfilled. 1. Work and mental health are deeply connected. People who find their work meaningful tend to experience higher levels of happiness and lower levels of stress. Meaningful work provides a sense of accomplishment and satisfaction that improves mental well-being. 2. Disconnection from purpose leads to depression. On the flip side, when work feels disconnected from our personal values or lacks meaning, it can contribute to feelings of depression and anxiety. We start questioning why we're doing what we do, leading to a sense of emptiness. 3. Aligning work with values. The key to finding fulfillment at work is aligning your tasks with your core values. Whether it's helping others, contributing to a larger cause, or expressing creativity, meaningful work is driven by passion, not just a paycheck. Let me tell you about Mark, a man in his late 30s who was stuck in a job that left him drained. For years, he worked as an accountant in a large corporation. He earned a good salary, had a stable career, and appeared to have everything on paper. But deep down, Mark felt completely disconnected from his work. He spent his days shuffling numbers on a spreadsheet, without any real sense of purpose or passion. It was all about meeting targets, hitting deadlines, and getting the paycheck at the end of the month. Mark started feeling the weight of his job on his mental health. He experienced constant anxiety, and the thought of going to work every morning made him feel physically sick. He realized that his job wasn't just a source of stress. It was causing him to feel like his life was meaningless. Then, Mark made a bold decision. He left his job as an accountant and decided to pursue his passion for teaching. He went back to school, became a high school teacher, and started working with students who struggled with math. At first, it was difficult, financially, emotionally, and mentally, but over time, Mark began to experience a sense of fulfillment he had never felt before. He wasn't just crunching numbers for someone else's bottom line. He was making a real difference in the lives of his students. His work became an extension of his values, and the joy of helping others reignited his sense of purpose. The stress and anxiety that once consumed him began to fade. Mark's story is a testament to the power of meaningful work. When we align what we do with who we are, the impact on our mental health is profound. His journey wasn't just about finding a job, it was about finding purpose. And that's the key message here. When our work reflects our values, it doesn't just become something we do, it becomes something that defines us, nourishes us, and contributes to our happiness. It's time to rethink the way we view work. Work is not just a tool for financial survival. It's a powerful force that shapes our sense of self and our mental well-being. When we find purpose in what we do, work becomes an act of self-expression, contribution, and fulfillment. And when we feel disconnected from our work, it can leave us questioning our place in the world. As Hari emphasizes, the key to happiness is not in escaping work, but in finding work that reflects who we truly are. So if you're feeling unfulfilled or disconnected from your job, it might be time to ask yourself, does my work align with my passions and values? If not, perhaps it's time to make a change. Now, here's your challenge. Take a moment to reflect on your own work. Does it feel meaningful? Are you excited to wake up in the morning and dive into your tasks? Or do you feel like you're just going through the motions? If your work isn't fulfilling, it might be time to consider what you're truly passionate about. Are there small changes you could make to bring more purpose into your daily tasks? Or maybe it's time to pursue something entirely new, something that aligns more closely with who you are and what you care about. Remember, the journey to happiness and mental well-being begins with reconnecting with your purpose. So, ask yourself, how can I make my work more meaningful? Finding work that is meaningful is not just a luxury. It's a necessity for our mental health. When our work aligns with our values and passions, we experience a sense of fulfillment that no paycheck can provide. It's this sense of purpose that keeps us motivated, happy, and grounded. So, if you're feeling stuck in a job that drains you, take it as a sign it might be time to find work that truly resonates with who you are. Because meaningful work is more than just a career. It's a key to happiness. Chapter 3. Human Connection, Escaping Loneliness. In today's world, we're more connected than ever. With just a few taps on our phones, we can communicate with anyone, anywhere, at any time. Social media has promised to bring us closer together, to make the world feel smaller. And yet something feels off. People are feeling lonelier than ever before. How can this be? How can we feel so connected digitally, but so disconnected in reality? In Lost Connections, Johann Hari delves into this paradox. How the rise of social media and digital communication has led to an increase in loneliness and isolation. We've replaced face-to-face interactions with texts, likes, and retweets. But the truth is, these digital connections can never replace the deep, meaningful human relationships that are crucial for our mental health. In this chapter, Hari explores how we can break free from this digital loneliness and reconnect with the people and experiences that truly matter. Loneliness has reached epidemic levels in the modern world. While we have more ways to connect than ever before, we've lost the ability to form truly meaningful relationships. Social media, for all its advantages, often leaves us feeling isolated. The likes, comments, and followers don't fill the void of real connection. As Hari points out, meaningful relationships, those built on mutual understanding, empathy, and shared experiences, are essential for our mental health. Loneliness is more than just a feeling of being alone. It's a state of disconnection. And despite living in an age where it seems like we're always connected, loneliness is on the rise. This chapter challenges us to question the nature of our relationships and reminds us that true human connection, the kind that nourishes our well-being, goes far beyond digital interactions. 1. The illusion of digital connection. Social media and online interactions can provide us with a sense of connection, but it's often shallow and short-lived. Likes, shares, and comments don't replace the depth and warmth of face-to-face connections. This superficial interaction contributes to feelings of loneliness, even when we're surrounded by people online. 2. Meaningful relationships boost mental health. Deep, meaningful relationships with family, friends, and community have a significant impact on our mental health. Studies show that people who have strong social bonds tend to be healthier, happier, and more resilient. These connections provide support, reduce stress, and improve overall well-being. 3. The importance of face-to-face interaction. Despite the convenience of digital communication, there's something irreplaceable about in-person interactions. Face-to-face conversations, shared experiences, and physical presence create a sense of belonging that digital connections simply can't match. Let's take the story of Emily, a woman in her mid-20s who grew up surrounded by technology. She was always online, checking Instagram, scrolling through Facebook, and chatting on WhatsApp. On the surface, Emily seemed well-connected. She had hundreds of online friends, posted pictures every day, and was constantly updating her status. But despite all of this digital interaction, Emily felt more alone than ever. She would spend hours scrolling through her feed, seeing friends hanging out, going on trips, and celebrating milestones. But something felt off. She realized that despite being connected, she wasn't really connecting with anyone. Her conversations were limited to likes and comments, and they lacked the depth and emotional resonance of real interactions. She was feeling disconnected from her friends and family, despite being constantly online. One weekend, Emily decided to take a break from social media. Instead of scrolling, she spent time with her family, cooking dinner together, having meaningful conversations, and laughing about old memories. The difference was immediate. She felt seen, heard, and understood in a way that digital interactions couldn't provide. Emily realized that her social media connections, while fun, were no substitute for the depth of real human relationships. From that moment on, Emily made a conscious effort to spend more time with her loved ones, face to face. She stopped mindlessly scrolling and focused on creating deeper connections with the people around her. And as a result, she felt less lonely, less anxious, and far more connected to the world around her. Emily's story illustrates a crucial point. Real human connection is irreplaceable. While digital connections can offer convenience and a sense of belonging, they cannot provide the emotional depth and understanding that come from in-person interactions. Reconnecting with family, friends, and communities is essential for our mental health. The simple act of being present with others, sharing experiences, and having deep conversations can combat feelings of loneliness and enrich our lives in ways that social media simply can't. So, what can we do to escape the trap of digital loneliness? Here are a few tips to help build more meaningful relationships, even in today's fast-paced, tech-driven world. 1. Disconnect to reconnect. Take regular breaks from social media. Instead of spending hours scrolling through feeds, focus on spending quality time with people who truly matter. Make time for face-to-face conversations where you can truly connect. 2. Be present. In your interactions, whether with family, friends, or colleagues, practice active listening. Put down your phone and engage fully with the person in front of you. Show empathy, ask meaningful questions, and create space for deep conversations. 3. Join communities. Look for opportunities to connect with others who share your interests or values. This could be a hobby group, a volunteer organization, or a sports team. These communities can provide a sense of belonging and support that social media can't. 4. Invest in long-term relationships. Quality matters more than quantity. Focus on building a few deep, lasting relationships rather than spreading yourself thin across hundreds of superficial connections. In the age of social media, it's easy to mistake online interactions for real connection. But as we've seen, digital connections often leave us feeling more isolated. To truly combat loneliness, we need to prioritize face-to-face connections, invest in meaningful relationships, and be present with those who matter most. True human connection requires effort, but the rewards, happiness, belonging, and mental well-being are more than worth it. So, take a step back and reflect. Who in your life can you reconnect with on a deeper level? Who do you need to spend more time with, away from the distractions of screens? By fostering real relationships, you can escape loneliness and find a richer, more fulfilling life. Chapter 4. Reconnecting with Nature, a key to inner peace. In today's fast-paced world, surrounded by concrete and screens, it's easy to forget the profound healing power of nature. We live in urban jungles full of noise, traffic, and digital distractions. But have we stopped to ask ourselves, when was the last time we truly connected with the natural world? We often think of nature as something distant, something we visit on weekends or vacations. But what if I told you that reconnecting with nature could be one of the simplest and most effective ways to improve your mental health? Johann Hari, in Lost Connections, uncovers the profound impact that nature has on our well-being and how many of us have become disconnected from it in the pursuit of progress. In this chapter, Hari highlights how our growing disconnection from nature, driven by urbanization and technology, has contributed to rising levels of stress, anxiety, and depression. Nature isn't just a nice getaway from our busy lives. It's essential for our mental and emotional well-being. Let's explore why and how we can start reconnecting with nature to restore balance in our lives. We've all heard the saying, take a walk in the park to clear your mind. It might sound cliché, but there's more truth to it than we realize. Nature has a profound, scientifically backed impact on our mental health. Research shows that spending time in natural environments reduces stress, lowers blood pressure, and even improves mood and cognitive function. Yet, in today's urbanized world, many of us are disconnected from the natural world, spending most of our days indoors, staring at screens, or rushing from one task to the next. This disconnection from nature isn't just a minor inconvenience. It's a mental health crisis. The hustle and bustle of city life, combined with our constant digital distractions, have created a perfect storm of stress and burnout. And while technology has brought countless conveniences, it's also pulled us further away from the calming, restorative power of nature. 1. Nature reduces stress and restores balance. Numerous studies have shown that spending time in nature helps reduce levels of cortisol, the stress hormone, lowers blood pressure, and promotes relaxation. Nature has a way of grounding us, helping us find inner peace amid chaos. 2. Nature improves mood and mental health. Nature isn't just good for your physical health. It's also a powerful antidote to depression and anxiety. Research indicates that people who spend time outdoors have lower rates of depression and anxiety. Nature exposure boosts serotonin levels, which are linked to improved mood. 3. Urbanization has led to disconnection. While cities offer convenience and opportunities, they also come with a cost, disconnection from nature. As urbanization increases, the green spaces we once relied on for relaxation and rejuvenation are shrinking. The result? People are becoming more disconnected from nature, which directly impacts their mental well-being. Let's take a closer look at two different living environments, urban and rural. In urban areas, people are often surrounded by concrete, glass, and steel. The constant noise of traffic, the rush of city life, and and the lack of green spaces can leave people feeling overwhelmed, anxious, and disconnected. Urban dwellers tend to have higher levels of stress and mental health issues, partly due to the lack of exposure to nature. Contrast this with rural areas, where the natural environment plays a larger role in daily life. In rural communities, people are often surrounded by trees, open spaces, and fresh air. Nature is not something they visit. It's an integral part of their lives. And research has shown that people in rural areas tend to report lower levels of stress, depression, and anxiety. While urban living offers opportunities and conveniences, it's clear that being disconnected from nature can have a negative impact on mental health. The rural lifestyle, with its closer proximity to nature, offers a buffer against these stresses. The truth is, nature is not a luxury, it's a necessity. In our busy lives, we often see nature as something to enjoy during vacations or as a break from work, but we fail to recognize that it should be an everyday part of our lives. Nature doesn't just help us unwind. It's a key player in our overall well-being. By incorporating more nature into our daily routines, we can dramatically improve our mental health and restore balance to our often chaotic lives. The good news is that reconnecting with nature doesn't require a weekend getaway or a massive lifestyle change. Small, simple steps can have a profound impact on your mental health. Here are a few easy ways to bring nature back into your life. 1. Take daily walks in nature. Whether it's a stroll through a park, a walk along the beach, or hiking through a forest, spending just 20 minutes a day in nature can help reduce stress and improve your mood. 2. Bring nature indoors. If you live in an urban area with limited access to green spaces, bring nature into your home. Adding plants to your living space can have a calming effect and improve air quality. 3. Practice mindfulness outdoors. Next time you're outdoors, take a moment to truly engage with your surroundings. Breathe in the fresh air, listen to the rustling leaves, and feel the earth beneath your feet. Mindful time in nature can increase feelings of peace and clarity. 4. Unplug and go outside. Turn off your phone and step outside. The constant digital noise can make it hard to connect with nature. By disconnecting from technology for a while, you allow yourself to be present in the natural world. 5. Create a nature ritual. Whether it's a morning coffee on the balcony, an afternoon walk through the neighborhood, or simply sitting by a window with a view of the outdoors, make nature a regular part of your day. We've spent centuries evolving in connection with nature, yet in just a few generations, we've moved away from it. The consequences of this disconnection are clear: rising stress, anxiety, and depression. But the good news is, nature is still here, waiting for us to return. Reconnecting with nature isn't just about escaping the pressures of modern life. It's about returning to something deeply rooted in our DNA. By taking small steps to reconnect with the natural world, we can restore balance, peace, and well-being in our lives. So, next time you feel stressed or overwhelmed, ask yourself, when was the last time I truly connected with nature? It might be the key to rediscovering your inner peace. Chapter 5. Living True to Your Values. The Path to Inner Happiness. Have you ever paused and thought about why you chase the things you do? The big house, the fancy car, the endless pursuit of success. Society often tells us these are the keys to happiness. But what if everything we've been told about happiness is wrong? What if true happiness doesn't lie in more money, more possessions, or more status, but in something much simpler and more meaningful? In this chapter, Johann Hari explores how the pursuit of material success often leads us down the wrong path. Rather than bringing us closer to true happiness, it leaves us feeling empty and unfulfilled. Hari suggests that real happiness is found when we live in alignment with our values. When we stop chasing society's definitions of success and start living for what truly matters to us. Let's dive deeper into how living according to our true values can bring us the peace and fulfillment we're all looking for. In today's world, it's easy to get caught up in the hustle and bustle of chasing external success, getting a bigger paycheck, owning the latest gadgets, climbing the corporate ladder, or achieving the perfect social media image. But here's the hard truth. These external markers of success don't lead to lasting happiness. In fact, they often lead to feelings of emptiness and dissatisfaction. True happiness comes when we stop measuring our lives by the standards set by society and instead start living according to our personal values. When we align our lives with what we truly care about, whether it's spending time with loved ones, pursuing personal growth, or contributing to something bigger than ourselves, we begin to experience deeper fulfillment and peace. 1. Materialism leads to emptiness. The constant pursuit of material success can trap us in a cycle of never feeling enough. We get more, but we're still not satisfied. This is because material success is a hollow pursuit. It's not what truly nourishes our inner well-being. 2. Living according to our values brings fulfillment. When we align our actions with our core values, we feel more connected to ourselves and the world around us. Happiness becomes less about what we accumulate and more about how we live. We experience deeper satisfaction when we focus on what really matters, like personal growth, connection, and contributing to others. 3. Society's expectations aren't the same as our own. The pressure to conform to societal ideals of success can pull us away from what we truly want. Society often tells us that happiness comes from fame, wealth, or power, but these things rarely lead to inner peace. By rejecting these superficial ideals, we free ourselves to pursue what really makes us happy. Imagine someone who spent their whole life chasing the dream of owning a luxurious home and having a high-paying job. For years, they believed that achieving these things would bring them ultimate happiness. But once they reached their goals, they found themselves more stressed, lonely, and unfulfilled than ever. One day, they decided to take a step back and reevaluate their life. They realized that while their job gave them financial security, it didn't provide a sense of purpose. They had neglected their relationships with friends and family in favor of climbing the corporate ladder. After some deep reflection, they decided to leave the high-paying job and focus on something more meaningful, helping others and nurturing their relationships. By living according to their true values, connection, purpose, and personal growth, they experienced a sense of fulfillment and happiness that material success could never provide. We all have values, those things that matter most to us. But often, we don't stop to think about whether our actions align with those values. Do you find yourself working long hours, striving for promotions, or accumulating possessions in the hope that it will bring you happiness? Or do you prioritize relationships, personal growth, and making a positive impact in the world? Take a moment to reflect on your values. What truly brings you joy and fulfillment? What would your life look like if you made decisions based on those values instead of societal expectations? Here are a few steps you can take to align your life with your values. 1. Identify your core values. What matters most to you? Is it family, creativity, health, adventure, or something else? Write down your top 3 values and reflect on how they show up in your daily life. 2. Assess your current life. Are you living in a way that aligns with your values? Take a look at how you spend your time and energy. Are you focused on things that truly matter to you, or are you caught up in societal pressures? 3. Make small changes. If your life isn't aligned with your values, start by making small adjustments. Spend more time with loved ones, pursue a hobby that brings you joy, or focus on personal growth rather than external validation. 4. Let go of superficial goals. Challenge the idea that happiness comes from accumulating wealth, status, or material possessions. Instead, focus on what truly brings you peace and contentment. At the end of the day, happiness isn't about what you have, it's about who you are and how you live. When you live in alignment with your true values, you unlock a deeper sense of fulfillment that goes far beyond material success. You'll find peace in knowing that your happiness doesn't depend on external factors, but on living authentically and embracing what truly matters. So, take a moment to reflect. Are you living according to your values, or are you chasing someone else's version of happiness? By making small changes today, you can begin your journey toward a more meaningful, fulfilling life. Chapter 6. A Hopeful Future, Rebuilding Optimism. Have you ever felt like the weight of the world is on your shoulders? Like every day is a battle, and the light at the end of the tunnel is nowhere to be seen? We've all been there, feeling like hope has slipped away, leaving us stuck in a place of despair. But what if I told you that even in your darkest moments, hope can be rebuilt? In this chapter, Johann Hari dives deep into the power of hope and its crucial role in mental health. Hope isn't just a feel-good emotion. It's essential for our survival, especially when we're dealing with mental health challenges like depression and anxiety. The good news is, even when it feels like hope is lost, it can be restored. It just takes small, meaningful actions. Let's explore how we can rebuild hope one small step at a time. Hope is more than just a positive feeling. It's a necessary ingredient for mental health. Without it, we can easily fall into despair. When hope fades, we feel like there's no reason to keep going, no reason to try. Depression becomes more overwhelming, and life can feel like an endless cycle of struggle. But here's the truth. Hope can be rebuilt. Even when it feels lost, there's always a way to restore it. The key is taking small, manageable actions that give us a sense of progress and direction. Rather than trying to change everything all at once, we can rebuild hope by setting tiny, achievable goals that bring us closer to feeling in control and optimistic again. Without hope, we're vulnerable. When we lose hope, we're more likely to experience depression, stress, and anxiety. Hope gives us the mental resilience to keep moving forward, even when life is tough. Without it, we feel directionless, and everything seems more challenging. Small, achievable goals can restore hope. The key to rebuilding hope is starting small. Instead of focusing on huge life changes, set tiny goals that you can accomplish. These small wins will gradually restore your confidence and sense of purpose, helping you build hope over time. Celebrate every step of progress. It's easy to overlook small victories, but they are powerful. Every time you accomplish something, no matter how small, you're reinforcing the belief that you can achieve more. This creates a snowball effect, where each success builds on the last. Meet Sarah. She had been struggling with depression for months and felt hopeless. Every day felt like an uphill battle, and the idea of trying to change her life seemed impossible. She knew she needed to make a change, but didn't know where to start. One day, she decided to set just one small goal for herself, getting out of bed at a specific time each morning. It seemed insignificant, but for Sarah, it was a huge step. She started waking up at 8 a.m. every day, and once she accomplished that goal, she set another one, going for a short walk outside. Slowly, these tiny goals started to add up, and Sarah began to feel a sense of control over her life again. As she achieved each small goal, Sarah's optimism began to grow. What once felt impossible, like getting out of bed or taking a walk, became a source of pride. The more she accomplished, the more hope she rebuilt, and gradually, Sarah felt ready to take on bigger challenges. Hope isn't something that magically appears. It's built through action, no matter how small. If you're feeling hopeless, here's how you can begin to rebuild hope in your life. Start small. The first step is to set a goal that's easy to accomplish. This could be as simple as making your bed in the morning, drinking a glass of water, or getting outside for a few minutes. The key is to make it achievable. Focus on the process, not the outcome. Don't worry about big achievements right away. Just focus on completing the task at hand. Celebrate each step, no matter how small. Progress is progress, and it all adds up. Track your wins. Keep a journal or list of your small victories. Every time you complete a goal, write it down. This will help you see how much you've accomplished and reinforce your ability to succeed. Set new goals gradually. As you start to feel more hopeful, set slightly bigger goals. Keep challenging yourself in small ways, and you'll begin to see the power of rebuilding hope through continuous action. Surround yourself with positive influences. Seek out people, environments, or activities that bring positivity into your life. Whether it's spending time with loved ones, listening to uplifting music, or reading something inspiring, positive influences will help reinforce your new sense of hope. The road to rebuilding hope may seem long, but it's built one small step at a time. No matter how hopeless you feel right now, remember that change is possible. By setting small, achievable goals, You can restore your sense of direction and optimism. So, ask yourself, what small goal can you set today that will help you feel a little more hopeful? Start there. The journey to a hopeful future begins with the smallest of steps, and each step forward is a victory in itself. Chapter 7: The Journey to Reconnection. Throughout this book, we've explored how depression and anxiety are not just biological issues, but signals from our minds telling us that something needs to change. These emotions are trying to tell us that we're disconnected from important aspects of life, things that give us meaning, purpose, and fulfillment. The question now is, how do we reconnect? In this final chapter, we'll wrap up the journey of healing and offer hope for a brighter future. It's not about simply getting rid of symptoms. It's about making intentional changes in our lives to rediscover the connections that truly matter, connections with meaningful work, healthy relationships, nature, and hope. Depression and anxiety are often seen as just symptoms to treat, but Johann Hari invites us to view them as important signals. These signals point to areas in our lives that need attention and reconnection. Instead of simply masking the symptoms, healing comes from addressing the root causes, reconnecting with what gives our lives meaning. For example, if you feel disconnected from your work, relationships, or the world around you, these feelings of depression or anxiety may be your mind's way of saying, it's time for change. The goal is not to ignore these signals, but to listen to them and take action. Reconnection is key. Healing isn't just about managing symptoms. It's about reconnecting with the parts of our lives that have been lost or neglected. Whether it's finding meaningful work, building stronger relationships, or spending time in nature, these reconnections are vital for long-term well-being. It's an ongoing process. The journey to mental health is not a one-time fix. It requires ongoing effort and commitment. Just like physical health, mental health requires regular attention. You don't heal and then stop. It's a continual process of nurturing your connections and aligning them with your values. Small, consistent steps lead to big change. As we've discussed in earlier chapters, small, meaningful actions can create lasting change. Whether it's setting a tiny goal each day or taking time to nurture relationships, the cumulative effect of these small steps leads to profound transformation. Take a moment to consider the stories of those who've gone through their own journeys of healing. For example, there's Sarah, who was caught in a high-paying but soul-sucking job. After struggling with depression for years, she realized her work no longer aligned with her values. She decided to make a change, taking a step back and reconnecting with her passion for art. Slowly but surely, as she shifted her focus, her mental health improved. Sarah's journey wasn't quick, but through reconnecting with what mattered most to her, she found peace and happiness. Or consider James, who had been isolated and disconnected from his friends and family. He began taking small steps to reconnect, starting with a weekly phone call to his mother and attending a community group for support. Over time, these simple actions helped him rebuild relationships and restore his sense of belonging. These stories show that healing is possible, and it often comes from reconnecting with the things that truly matter in life. Now it's your turn. Think about the connections that may be missing in your life. What are the areas where you feel disconnected? Whether it's work, relationships, nature, or hope, there's always a path back. Start small. Set one goal today. Whether it's taking a walk in nature, reaching out to a loved one, or reflecting on what truly brings you joy. Remember, healing doesn't happen overnight, but every small step you take is part of the larger journey toward reconnection. So, what's one thing you can do today to begin your journey of healing? Take that first step. Reconnection is waiting. As we wrap up, remember that the path to mental well-being is an ongoing journey, but it begins with you. By acknowledging the signals of depression and anxiety, you can start making intentional changes to reconnect with the important aspects of your life. Healing is possible, and it starts now. Conclusion: the journey to overcoming depression and anxiety is not just about masking symptoms or seeking a quick fix. It's about rediscovering the lost connections in our lives. Those deep, meaningful connections that truly bring us joy peace, and fulfillment. As Johann Hari emphasizes in Lost Connections, these emotions are signals, not just illnesses. They're signs that we've lost touch with what really matters. Depression and anxiety are not random. They're clues telling us that something in our lives is out of alignment. Reconnecting with our work, relationships, nature, and sense of hope can make all the difference. These changes are not easy or immediate, but they are life-changing. To heal, we must reconnect with the things that nourish our souls. 1. Meaningful work. Find work that aligns with your values and passions, not just your paycheck. 2. Real relationships. Build and nurture relationships that give you a sense of connection and belonging. 3. Nature. Spend time in nature to restore balance and peace. 4. Hope. Rebuild hope by setting small, achievable goals that guide you toward a better future. Small, intentional changes in these areas can create a profound shift in your mental and emotional well-being. It won't happen overnight, but over time, you'll start to feel better, more connected, and more fulfilled. Now it's your turn. Reflect on which areas of your life you feel disconnected from. Are you missing meaningful work? Do you lack strong relationships? Have you neglected your connection with nature? Do you need to rebuild your sense of hope? Take one small step today to reconnect. It could be something as simple as taking a walk outside, reaching out to a friend, or finding one small way to align your work with your passions. Each step you take brings you closer to rediscovering the peace and happiness you deserve. Depression and anxiety don't have to define you. You have the power to rediscover your lost connections and find the peace and happiness you've been searching for. Start today.